So I really wanted to react to this Steven Crowder heated "Are white people too fragile?" Black and white on the I think it's Great Issues or something. Yeah, heated "Are white people too fragile?" Black and white on the Great Issues. Okay, I really wanted to do a reaction on this video. I don't know how to make the video play, so I'm just going to use my other phone to play it. Y'all, please don't fry me. I'm going to get it right one day. I'm going to learn. But until then, here we go. So this is a clip. I'm going to start right here because this is when it starts to get a bit heated. And this is where, so disclaimer, I do like Steven Crowder, although I don't agree with all of his viewpoints. I do like his work. I really like Steven Crowder, but I do feel like he has some internalized racism and some, the white man is the boss. And you're going to kind of see it in this video. And anybody who's not in denial is going to see it as well. But here we go.
Disagree and say, yeah, that's not racism, or you know what? I don't agree with the idea of white fragility and them not be a racist.
Okay.
Because I was just told that is privilege to even say I disagree with your opinion.
No, that's not necessarily what we're saying. You kind of look, you said that. Anyways, but what I'm saying is if you have the facts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I didn't say. Hopefully,
if you have the facts, you have the backing, and there's no issue with debating something, but you need to understand what the core is. So somebody said, I don't think white fragility exists because of XYZ reasons, and someone comes back with no, and they're still very hard-headed about it, or they don't see the reasons, or they don't really look into those facts. That's where the issue lies. If there's an actual discussion, I don't really care if you think white fragility is real or not, because eventually you are going to come to an opinion that is not necessarily based on how you feel, but on facts. And then from there, you can do whatever you want. Right. I don't necessarily care about what people...
So if someone were to go, for example, just to kind of use your timeline, and if someone was raised in Canada, right, not the United States, someone use your timeline and say, actually, according to Professor West, black activists, well over 95% of slaves in Africa were sold into slavery by African slave traders, including largely black African slave traders. Of course, it's wrong. And this was the first country to fight the bloodiest revolution in history in order to free the slaves because they recognized that it was ungodly based on the Judeo-Christian principles that we signed the Emancipation Proclamation. We were not uniquely responsible for starting slavery. We were uniquely responsible for ending it in the modern world. There are more slaves today than ever in recorded history.
Okay, so
that right there.
That's 42 million. And someone says, so since there are more slaves on Earth today, largely in the Middle East and in Asia, that it would imply that those countries are probably more systemically racist than the least systemically racist country in the world, the United States. If someone were to walk through that line of history,
you're walking through it very incorrectly without understanding the basis and the foundation.
Also, you can't really say that white people ended racism because black people fought to end racism. So white people are the reason we would still be slaves
if it was for you, babe.
So the whole conversation got a bit convoluted because I feel like everybody was emotionally charged in the conversation. I'm going to continue it, but I just want to address this. So Steven Crowder, well, the young lady who's debating him was just like, there's this thing called white fragility. That's when people start talking about black issues, white people can become like fragile because they don't want to be looked at as racist. So Steven Crowder was basically trying to tell her where it's racist for her to say that white people are fragile. He was saying that was racist. So there was like a back and forth about, that's where that fragility thing was coming in and she was talking about. But I just wish she would have said that everything is not racist when somebody says something about somebody. Like you can say that, I don't know, you can say that somebody is fragile and that's not calling them racist. Okay, so I just feel like Steven Crowder kind of like uses all of the defense mechanisms when people talk about the atrocities that happen in this country when it comes to black and white people. The whole thing about it is, so he mentioned that Africa sold slaves to America, which probably was true, but that does not justify what happened once those Africans got on that soil. Yes, there was slavery in all places, but American slavery was one of the most brutal, inhumane, degrading, dehumanizing type of slavery than it ever was. And right after slavery, when they did And when he's talking about ended racism, no, they ended slavery. They didn't end racism. Racism actually really started after slavery when it came to Jim Crow and segregation. When they were lynching black people, when there were white-only bathrooms and black-only bathrooms. So what Steven Crowder is doing is he's being defensive because his ego was hurt when that little black girl called him fragile, because he doesn't really want to take into account of what actually happens and still happens to black people on this soil and in America. Because I have this book right here called Making Whiteness. And as you can see, the culture of segregation is what caused this racial divide. It wasn't slavery necessarily that caused the racism. It was what happened after slavery that caused the racism when it came to whites only and painting black people in a certain way. Because during slavery, black people weren't even considered human. They were 3/5 of a human. We were considered like maybe a little higher than the animals, but not quite at their level. So it kind of did start there, but that was the dehumanizing factor. And then once they freed black people is when the degenerate happened, when they painted us as lowly, and that's why there were projects built, and that's why there's still redlining in all black neighborhoods. I live in an all black neighborhood. Every neighborhood around me, adjacent to me, is all black. So there is still segregation right now to this day in 2023. So Steven Crowder is really being, I don't even know, he's just trying to win a debate, and he doesn't want to face the fact that there's still racism. So let's continue this. I want Steven Crowder to debate me. That's what I want him to do. But let's continue, because Steven Crowder is a trip. And the way that he be kind of like gaslight, he was like a gaslighter. This shit is so funny, y'all. Let's just keep watching, because it's funny to me to watch this. But yeah. Okay, so let's continue.
It's for white people. We would still be enslaved.
Really?
I believe that. I believe
not
that.
necessarily.
How much have you read from Washington, from Jefferson,
All of it.
from Lincoln?
After he was raping all the slave women and making babies
Isn't
for
that,
them and
again,
all
historically
that.
inaccurate?
That is very true.
We're talking about
That's very true.
We're talking about Jefferson.
It is
Jefferson
they
has-
freed their slaves upon their death because it was illegal at
It's
that
very
point.
true that he
Also,
raped slaves and he
raped
has
Sally
children.
too.
And he has
Jefferson
children by her.
definitely raped Sally. Hamilton's
that's-
wife had
Oh
plenty
Lord,
of slaves.
hold
So
on. We
it's
ain't saying
like,
a lot of that. I don't know, Lord. I don't know how to edit it out. I'm gonna fast forward this, but they were talking about the grape of slaves and how Thomas Jefferson raped some of his slave women and had children. And Steven Crowder denied and said that it's not true. And then they were saying that it is true, and they don't believe each other's facts, and just not a great debate. But I'm sorry. I hope that YouTube don't strike me. But my channel not that big, so hopefully it don't. So let's see.
Still feel like we're not going to get anywhere with this conversation.
Right, because he started off with the idea that it must be
We're
based
not
on
growing.
racism.
We're not growing
Right.
in this conversation at all.
And you can't. And
You're
it's the
defending.
No,
And she's defending.
No.
Nobody is moving forward.
Wouldn't it be incumbent? In other words, we're talking about defending, and this is why I say we've had a lot of conversations. This is why we're down here, right? The first person to say white fragility is something that can't be disproven is the conversation where it cannot be productive because it starts from a racist premise. If I were to come in and say, "Hey,
How is them white fragility coming from a racist perspective? How? How is that racist to say that? I just don't understand. Now, some people may disagree. This is a thing that this is an opinion. But I feel like it's his ego that's making him come from that stance. So, oh, it's racist for you to call me fragile. Because I feel like if you want to look at it historically, like how they say that black people are the more dominant. So I feel like it's an ego thing for him. That's why he's trying to paint it out is by her saying white fragility is saying that she's being racist by saying that. When she's totally not. She's just saying a certain opinion that she has about it. Because like to say that black women are aggressive, that is racist. Because that is something that they put out about black women. specifically. So for to say that all black women are aggressive, that's a racist term versus then white people are fragile, because that hasn't been something that, people say. If y'all kind of get what I'm trying to say, like, I don't feel like it's racist to say white fragility versus black women being aggressive or a black man is a criminal. That's something racist to say. Because racism is built off of black people being treated a certain way, not white people. But I feel like he's trying to flip it to kind of like make it seem like, oh, there's no such thing as racism anymore, which is bullshit. But let's keep watching. Because he's gaslighting, and it's so crazy.
Not enough black people and white people are talking about these issues, and that's because black people are incredibly fragile. That probably wouldn't be a productive conversation, right?
I think we can say.
I think I'm intelligent enough to have that conversation.
I think you can definitely say that black people are fragile about certain things. I think there's something wrong with saying that. There's truth to that. I think every race is fragile at certain things within that race. I don't think that's
I disagree.
No, you can say black people are fragile about this certain thing.
I feel black people are fragile. You could say that, and then we can then educate you on why. Yes.
Right. When I talk to you about right fragility, every time you come up with like, this is racist, this is racist, this is racist, almost every single time, and I told you. And I disagree with you on that, because racism is power plus oppression, right? I mean, power plus discrimination, right? And you can't have right fragility because there's no. Black people can't be. Right fragility is not racist because it has no power behind it.
Right, and that's exactly what I was just saying. He's trying to say that because she said white fragility, she coming in as racist. When you are painting her as racist because it's hurting your ego that she's saying that you're a white being fragile when you don't want to listen to black conversations. That's pretty much what she's trying to say. No, sir. Excuse me, y'all. My kids. Go out my room. Bye. Shut the door. I'm going to let you know when I'm done. So, let's keep going, y'all. Dang, my phone went out. Hold up. Y'all got to learn how to put the video inside the video so I can do it. If somebody know a good YouTube video to teach me how to do it, y'all link it down below for me. Let's see here. Okay.
It has power behind it towards white people. That's why it is, like, white people having right fragility is racist. Does that mean? Because that means they have a racial...
So,
do you believe that black people have no power behind them in the United States?
I think that every race has power behind them. I mean, there's power in numbers, but I don't think our power is equal to the white man.
Oh, exactly. So here's my question for you, because I'm going to take...
I think it depends on the person, is what
I don't.
I think,
I think it depends on the white person.
Systematically, right? So we're talking about the prison industrial system and things like that, and racial profiling, and how people think things, how people categorize and stereotypes, and the Jezebel and the Sapphire, and all... I think that's the word. I think I messed up the word on that. Maybe I didn't. And the Jezebel and the Mammy and all of those things, and how black women in healthcare systems, especially, and things like that.
You're just throwing out words. Jezebel can apply to white people, too. What do you think?
It can, but historically, especially in minstrel shows, it applies to black women. That stereotype is placed more on black women. It can apply to white people, but it's not as often.
We're just across from the restaurant, the slutty vegan. I mean, it's something that goes across the board.
I know.
My point
what I'm saying is
a racial issue.
Slutty vegan is owned by a black woman.
But anyways, what we're saying is that
there are plenty of sluts. A lot of people like
Jezebel has a story. It's biblical, but it also
Yes.
historically has been used against black people in minstrel shows a lot too. So Jezebel has a slightly more racial coded tone than the word slut does. You feel what I mean?
Any of those problems that you identified, because there's one thing we talked about today. Any of those problems that you just identified, for example, you talk about the prison industrial complex, you talk about schools, you talk about government.
Yeah.
Are any of those problems not racially based?
So prison industrial system, definitely. What was the next one?
Public education.
Education, because of like where living spaces are, and because of like systems and
Zoning,
slums and redlining and all of this thing.
They ain't say segregation. Now she's 17, so I'm gonna give it to her. But she did not mention segregation, which still exists. This is why we still have all black schools in some areas, in all black neighborhoods. And you know when you were in the ghetto, and most of it is black. Now, do you have white trailer parks? Yes, you do. But it doesn't exist because of the history of the country and the way a whole group of people were treated. And the fact that he keep trying to deny it is weird. Like, 100 years ago, it was in 1923. Okay? During 1923, it was heavily segregated. Let's go back even 50 years. So we're not that far removed from Jim Crow. And Jim Crow is what created the real racial divide, because they separated us because they felt like we were less than. And a lot of white people still look at black people as less than, but they're in denial about it because we can still shop with them. You see black people on TV. You see black people in white spaces. But that doesn't mean that they're internalized. Just like value systems can be passed down, just like wealth can. Wealth can be passed down, just like you pass down religions, and everything can be passed down. So that means viewpoints about people can be passed down. I don't know if she's going to mention it, but even some black people look at black people a certain way because of the way that making whiteness. There are some black men that wouldn't date a woman that looked like me. Now, it's because they made everything white. She had also mentioned the Disney princesses and how they're all white. And then there's that one black one. So at the end of the day, if you're a white person and you're looking at what she's saying and saying, oh, well, white people go through that too. Oh, well, you're not. That's bullshit, because if you look through history, you did not go what black people went. You did not go through what black people went through. You can go and watch a cartoon and see yourself. You can look at the TV and see yourself in a positive light. When black people, what they project about black people, they don't project us in a positive light. Even in this book, Making Whiteness, and I brought this book out because I feel like people try to deny history and pretend that the long, dark history of this country has no impact on the way that race relations are today. They try to pretend, but you can't pretend, honey. And I feel like Steven Crowder is literally gaslighting and trying to compare things that are not comparable. It's just not. So this right here is the Tannels Punch. Okay, this is a black woman right here, but you can see her from the back and you can see her from the front. And I'm going to read the little commentary. It says, Tannels Punch cigar advertisement. The humor of this trade card depended upon an assumed white audience relief at discovering no matter how well African Americans mimic their white superiors in both dress and leisure activities, the face remained transparent and conveyed the truth. Beauty on the street, however, opened up as many questions about identity in a consumer society as it answered. Then we have here the Gold Dust twins. Roosevelt scoured Africa for the Gold Dust twins. And it says the Gold Dust washing powder advertisement. Advertisers to new mass market in the early 20th century explicitly figured the consumer as white. Spokesservants like the Gold Dust twins and the better known Aunt Jemima implied that, like African Americans, consumer products would perform multiple tasks, ensuring through their service both physical and cultural comfort of their white masters. And then they have There's No Way Like the American Way, the world's highest standard of living. And it has a white family in the car here. And not to mention, we have here, I believe that this is a white man in blackface. And then there's a white man with like the Indians. Can y'all see it in the bottom picture? This right here is actually a white man in blackface. And then this is a white man wearing the Indian. So Steven Crowder he needs to chill on this conversation because, honey, you cannot. I don't care how much you try. I don't care how much these conservatives try. This racism, it still exists, and it's still embedded in many of the white people, whether they want to admit it or not. I also have here, this is a lynching, and you can't tell, but look at you can't see the lynching. This is somebody that was lynched, and this is the mobs of white people watching this lynching here. So I'm going to read this to you. It says, this is Elizabeth Freeman, an undercover investigator for the NAACP who posed as a suffragist to investigate the 1916 murder of Jesse Washington in Waco, Texas, bought a set of photographs of this spectacle lynching. Now, spectacle lynchings was something that happened very, very much so a lot. I'm talking about very much, but so a lot. But it happened a lot in American soil, especially in the South specifically. And that is how many people like this. There's no space. Everything that you see, this looks like a concert. This is the things that they did in this country. And this was only in 1916. And not to mention they were still doing it years after 1916. Excuse me. But it says, the photograph captures the unknown members of the mob in the act of setting Washington on fire. So this is them actually setting that man on fire. And then they have a photo of his charred body, which I'm not going to show. But they made postcards of this. This is the American history, honey. After slavery. This is not during slavery. So is Africa to blame for this happening? Because they sold them. So because Africa sold black people to America, Africa is responsible for what these Americans did. That's some narcissistic shit. Because I'm pretty sure Africa didn't know that they were doing this shit over here. I'm pretty sure they didn't know. Even a lot of the white people who didn't own slaves didn't know what was happening on those plantations. But they still painted black people in a certain light so that white people could feel okay about what was happening. It was called the happy slave. So they would paint black people as happy. That's where the watermelon came from and the Sambo. And it was like, oh, these people need our help. They need to be slaves. They're happy on the plantation. This is what they presented during slavery to have other white people say, okay, it's okay that they're slaves. And then after they let us go, after they let the slaves go, is when they decided to create the Jim Crow laws, okay? And they painted black people as degenerates, and that's when you had all the segregation and everything like that. But these people would cut off body parts of black people hung from trees. So for Steven Crowder to and I feel like that young girl should have brought up segregation, because that's the main thing that is the issue here. But let's go back to the video. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm cussing everything. I'm coughing, cussing and everything, but it's fine. Let's get back to the video. Because Steven Crowder a trip, but I got to get to this part.
That's based on anti-blackness and also based on class. And class
Can you toss Disney in there?
Yeah. Disney has racism too.
Tide, the Beanie Baby company.
Yeah. Anyways.
I lost a ton of money on those. I'm really waiting for the value.
Do you realize that Tide, the Beanie Baby company, right now owns the license for all the Disney princesses, but he refuses to make one Disney princess, and that happens to be Tiana. He refuses to make that one. So I'm just saying, it lies within so many different facets.
Also, think about who.
I gotta tell you,
there's nothing to say about that. That's just horrible, right?
Yeah, I don't know that that's even true, or that it's because
It's
of her
true
race.
because director of marketing
Frog
is
was one of the
true.
most successful modern
It's
Disney
true
films.
because the director.
We just had Black Mermaid that comes
Okay, can I
She was
speak?
directed
So you see how he did that. So why would he bring up Black Mermaid? That was some race. Hey, Steven Crowder is so racist for him saying that. He's literally, and he's trying to make them seem like, and I believe all his racist, because he has some racist followers too. Because these comments are no. But anyway, she was bringing up the fact that there was the Thai company who owns the didn't want to make Tiana the Black Princess. And I'm sure, and there are people, our president, Joe Biden, was alive during Jim Crow. So I believe whoever this was that bought Disney, he's probably older. He probably still has the values of those white people from the Jim Crow era, and the slave era, because their mom and dad was probably born in the 1920s, okay? 1920s, 1930s. And they raised them up with these certain beliefs. Steven Crowder as well, even though he grew up in Canada, they still have a lot of racist beliefs there. They're directly connected to America, so there's no real, they're not from like another third world country. Well, I don't want to say third world country. Just they're not from another country or another continent. Canada is another country, but I look at it, they're not from another continent. That's what I meant to say, y'all. Please excuse me. I'm all over the place, but I had to make this video because it kind of triggered me, and I feel like Steven Crowder is racist, and he doesn't want to, which a lot of white people, they don't want to admit to the fact that they're racist, and it's fine. Like, that is the proof of the white fragility that that girl is talking about, because for her to tell you something that she knows to be true about, because she works in marketing, and she knows that this guy doesn't want to make the Tiana doll. And you're going to say, well, I don't know if that's true. And then you bring up the mermaid, a fictional character that a black woman played, and you want to bring that up. Why did you even bring that up? Why did he bring up Halle? Why did he bring up the mermaid, y'all? Racist much? That had nothing to do with anything. Nothing. Do you know how many actual black characters that they made white? Cleopatra. I could keep going, but I'm not. That's just the main one that I can think of. But I can look it up and make a whole list, because I seen a girl on TikTok do it, where they took non-white characters and allow white people to play them. And these were actual real people. The Mermaid is actually a Disney cartoon. And if you want to keep it 100, Mommy Wata, which is actually the real mermaid, the African deity, is black. So, Steven Crowder, why would you bring up the mermaid? But, like, no. Anyways. Why does my phone keep doing that? I have to learn, y'all. This is getting annoying.
Director of marketing.
Sure.
It's very true. I worked for the company for 5 years. So instead of saying, I don't know that's true, I would love for you to say, oh my God, that must be hurtful. This is where the divide is. You automatically went to, you automatically, let me speak. You automatically went for, back up a little bit. You automatically went for I don't know if that's true. I don't know. Instead of saying, wow, could that be true? If so, that must be horrible.
That's true, and that I'm not going to attribute.
I'm telling you what the tone is that you
but
just
you've been wrong
said
about
for
so
me.
much that I don't trust what you're telling me. You just said that there weren't white people freeing the slaves. It was only because of.
He said, I don't trust what you're telling me. Some racist. Why you don't trust what she's telling you? If it was coming from a little white lady, would you say, oh, I don't trust what you're telling me? And then he brought up white people again freeing slaves. White people enslaved them too. So what are you talking about?
I didn't say that.
So Jefferson raped
Wait a minute.
his woman.
I never
It's just
said
not accurate.
that.
So I'll take your
How
word.
do you know he didn't rape his woman?
There's a guy named
Lord.
David Barton.
Yes.
Mary
Stop
Nation.
saying mom to
It's
me.
not black-white. To back up when I have not taken any closer
Okay.
steps towards you. Mary
Stop
Nation.
saying mom to
It's
me.
not black-white. It's male-female. I think that's the issue that we're running into here.
No, it is black and white. It's very black and white.
I think that the interrupting and the aggression and the implication that someone needs to die.
The aggression.
Closer steps towards you.
I don't care, but it's
Hold up. How is it aggression when she say back up a little bit? It's because you could see that her tone, it did change. She was a little bit triggered. But I don't see aggression as her telling him to back up a little bit. Every time a black woman, I'm telling you, how is that aggression? Some of y'all may feel like it's aggression, but I just look at it as she was in a moment. He triggered her, and she wanted him to back up a little bit.
uncomfortable. It's not.
We've been able to have productive conversations with black men across the board, and by the way, most women. But there does seem to be a divide in interrupting and being abrasive, and certainly being more aggressive.
So, I didn't Mama, please.
Wait a minute. I didn't start out that way.
We're going to
Can
make
you
it
wait?
worse.
Let me say this.
You understand, like, we're in a trap,
Can
right?
you let
You're
me
making
say
this worse.
this? It is a trap. Let me say this. It didn't start out that way. You made me feel that way.
I don't care.
Okay, good.
I
End
care
of
about the
conversation.
facts. I wasn't
Okay, so
intending to make you feel that way.
it's the end of the conversation.
That's fine.
You just shown your true colors.
I don't care that you feel that way if you're wrong.
He been showing his true colors.
This is
Every
horrible.
single conversation today has
Yeah.
been productive. We found more in common than less. Every single one.
Yeah.
With the exception of this, and this is the only.
Why do you have to find more in common? That is that white supremacy shit. And I don't mean no harm. It's so you don't have to find more in common. So that means you need to agree with me. I took that as you don't agree with what I'm saying. So this conversation is not productive and you're getting aggressive but the thing about it is the way that he was handling the conversation was not productive. How can you come and ask somebody their opinion about black and white issues and then they tell you and you just defend and shut down anything that they're trying to say? That's not a productive debate or conversation. Like you can't have a conversation with somebody if you're automatically shutting down everything that they're saying. If this lady tells you something that is happening you ask them a question about microaggressions and different things because he was asking them questions. And then they respond and they give him an example. He'll just say, oh, that's not true. Or I don't trust what you're saying. That shit is racist. You're acting racist to a black woman while you're trying to ask her a question about racism as a white man. You're not going there trying to understand. And then when she said, she let him know how he's making her feel. And then he's going to say, I don't care. Now, had that been a white woman, would you have said the same thing? Had it been, now I can't say that he would. Maybe he would have said the same thing, but I highly doubt it. Do you see what I see? I hope y'all see what I see. He literally brought up the mermaid, which had nothing to do with what she said about the Disney princesses and him not making any of the black princesses. Then turn around and ask her. No, what he do? He told her that he doesn't care about the way that she feels when he's shutting down, when she's literally telling you something that is letting you know what the issue is when it comes to black and white and racism in this country. Excuse me, y'all. It's ridiculous. And I don't care if this video out of place. I'm going to post it anyway and I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to get better. I'm going to find out how to do it right. But let's get back to the video because this is funny to me. And I would love to debate Steven Crowder. And I'd be like, come here. Instead of saying back up. Because let me explain something to you. Your daddy taught you to be racist and you know it. Or you have some internalized racism that you're projecting onto these two lovely black women during this conversation. And because they're not agreeing with you, because they're not being agreeable, you have a problem with it, white man. Oh my God, it's so funny. Give me a second, y'all. Because I got to make this stream.
One, where I was told I couldn't have an opinion because of white fragility, and I
You
just
have an opinion. I said personally that you could have an opinion, right? I said that multiple times. As long as you come with facts and like proof, right? Because okay, here's my thing.
we haven't addressed any of them.
We have, especially with the same thing. I said from my sources and from my facts, we have a difference of facts and opinions. So we should have dropped that totally and completely and moved on to something else, like maybe the prison industrial system, or maybe something else that has more basis. But you just kind of pounded on the fact of one thing, and you didn't really address. This is not like a great conversation to have, right? And from my
Not at all.
She's not like I'm trained in debate, so I know how to see certain debates you're making, and I know how to move around them or know how to deal with them. She does not, so she'll fall into that trap a little bit more easily of how.
What trap have I laid? I'm really not trying to lay a
You're not
trap.
laying a trap, but you're being difficult to talk to and understand, and there's a lack of empathy on both sides. And I feel like that's the main issue, is there's a lack of empathy on both sides, and we're not really reading each other or hearing each other. And that's where the main issue is. And Mom, she's pretty strong-willed, she's pretty strong-headed, and when she comes to debate, she comes to win. I come from a different perspective.
So my goal was this. My goal was this. First, to hear each other. And within this conversation, I didn't feel that. It changed. You just told me I don't care. You just said there's no facts. You just told me everything negative instead of listening and hearing. And
Exactly.
This conversation would have been completely
Well,
different.
the good news is
And
you'll
now
be
I
able to
feel like I'm
rewind
in
it,
a
and
trap.
you'll be able to see the behavior that you have exhibited here,
You-
not myself. And you can watch it. You
Okay.
can rewind it.
That's what you
because
think of black women.
Exactly. No.
You're making a lot of.
No. Did you see that? He said you can rewind this and look, and we're both looking at this. He literally told her when she told him that the man that owns the Disney princesses does not want to make the black princess. He says, I don't trust what you're telling me. That's what he said to her. Then when he said she was being aggressive, she let him know why. Even though I don't feel like she was really being aggressive, yes, her tone changed. And yes, she was a little bit more assertive in her tone. But she didn't start yelling. She didn't yell at him. Like, aggression to me is something different. You guys may feel like it was aggressive. So I don't want to debate. I'm not going to debate about aggressive. But for me, she wasn't aggressive. I feel like she asserted a little bit more because she felt like he was dismissing the things that she was saying. He felt like she was dismissing her. Because if I tell you something, if you ask me a question and then I tell you something, or if we're having a conversation and I reveal something to you that I know, and then you say, well, I don't trust what you're saying. Why don't you trust what she's saying? Is it because she's a black woman saying it? Had it been a white man telling you something, would you trust it? And then when she tells you that, okay, this conversation is because you're not really hearing, you're not really listening, he's going to turn around and gaslight and say it's the way you're behaving. This was a racist ass conversation. He don't even see how racist he's being. Oh, he's being totally racist, y'all. Y'all see it? Oh, y'all see it?
Statements right now that are not helping this conversation and making you look worse.
Is it possible
I don't
that I think
care.
that maybe you've been impolite, that maybe you've been inaccurate in some of your assumptions
People
yourself,
have been impolite.
and not
I
because
think
you're black,
we've both been impolite.
and not because you're black? So why does it have anything to do with your race? If I just think you've been aggressive.
I think
No, look.
So here's the
It don't have nothing to do with your grace. I just feel like you've been aggressive. Why do you feel like she was aggressive and impolite? Because she wasn't being agreeable? Because you didn't find anything in common? Because you wasn't trusting the things that she was saying to you? And I'm just going to end it. Y'all can go back and watch the whole debate because I've been up here for 38 minutes and my kids. But y'all just don't fall for this bullshit with these people who are in denial. Because there are some white people and black people who are in denial about what happened in history. And this talks about from 1890 to 1940. So if you go ahead and do the math, that's less than 100 years ago, 1940. There are people who are still alive from 1940. The history of segregation, the making of whiteness, white supremacy, it is still real. We just witnessed this with this white man interviewing two black women. And when the conversation did not go in the way that he liked it, he called her aggressive. And the things that most of the time that people will say about black women when they assert how they really feel and they become a little bit more assertive in their conversation and their delivery of said whatever they need to say. Okay. And yeah, Steven Crowder, I really don't really agree with the way that you handled this conversation. If you want to talk about black issues, you need to go in, actually really want to hear what people have to say instead of already having in your mind what you believe. Because he wants people to change his mind, but he's not even willing to look at the facts. Okay, he's not even willing to see the truth. He has like a veil. yeah, it could be white misogyny or white supremacy or whatever it may be. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. So if you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.